But the real problem, Sean, is Pete Buttigieg. He's the Secretary of Transportation, and he's more interested in equity and inclusion in his hiring practices and grant-giving schemes and obviously probably chest feeding or something like that than he is rail safety, because train derailment is happening every single day. And now thousands of people, birds, animals, they're all sick. And we don't know the consequences of this horrible accident in East Palestine. But we have people like Ilhan Omar. She wants to, crack down on corporate greed when it comes to rails and the privately owned sections of rails. But really what we have to do is we have to make sure that our rails are safe. Democrats passed a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, and only $5 billion went towards rail safety.
If only we could find a way to have more money go to rail safety. Marjorie Taylor Greene complaining about the accident that happened out there in Ohio with the train derailment, and says, when are these environmentalists gonna come forward? It's odd because I guess from the backing of those pesky environmentalists, there was this infrastructure bill that she voted against because it didn't give enough money to railroads, or because it didn't give enough money back to these railway companies that paid a bunch of folks to do so. Or maybe it was her favorite former president, the one whose ass she kissed and who's also she's springboarding off of for her own popularity. When this happened back in 2018, when he rolled back this train braking rule meant to keep oil tankers from exploding near communities. But now that it exploded near a community that she maybe slightly thinks that she can gain some political points acting like she cares about, now it's on the forefront of her mind. It's weird because David Sirota, a journalist who digs deep into these topics, he explained exactly what it was that happened and why politicians like Donald Trump pulled back on this braking rule that was established in the Obama administration. Watch.
To this. So there was a derailment in 2012 in New Jersey,
releasing 20,000 gallons of dangerous chemicals and noxious gas into the air.
There's children in the town that are being affected by this.
And there was pressure on regulators to do something about those kinds of trains. And so the Obama administration had a rule proposed to better regulate these trains. And the chemical industry lobbyists went to work pressuring the regulatory agency to limit the definition of what a high hazard flammable train is. Limit it in a way that the train in Ohio, that kind of train ended up not being classified as a high hazard flammable train. Trains that were subject to this rule were going to be required to use a special kind of new braking system to try to deter or at least reduce the damage from derailments. Obama's rule included that measure to expand the larger use of those brakes on the nation's rail system. But in that 2016 election year, the Republican Party got about $6 million from the rail industry, and Senate Republicans started beating the drum for Trump to repeal the rule.
Was $6 million enough, Marjorie Taylor Greene, for them to pull back on that rule? Because that's the problem. It's part of the problem that was going on here. Or did you not know that? Because too many lefties say things that you just can't understand. She also tried to go a different approach to this in demonizing folks and acting like she cares about wildlife and the deaths that happen from things like over the ocean or in the ocean, with, again, absolutely no grasp of the actual reality or truth behind what she's talking about. Let's go to this next point that she was making.
And then you have this toxic chemical mess in Ohio, in Palestine that we reported on earlier in the program, and I don't hear anything from the new Green Deal climate alarmist cult about what is an environmental disaster by every measure. Why?
Well, I'm not sure. I don't know why AOC isn't dressed in white and crying for the dead whales that keep washing on the beach from wind farms that are being placed all over the ocean. And people are calling the alarms over how this is not only killing unknown thousands of bird species, but also causing whales to beach themselves at record numbers.
So this she is acting like she gives a damn about any whales that are dying, because she mocked AOC and saying, how come she's not on the beach dressed in all white crying for it? Are you on that side or are you not on that side? Because then why isn't your ass on the beach dressed in white crying over it? Do you care about it or do you not? Or do you just not know what the hell is going on? I'll tell you what's going on, because there's, in case she wants to know why this has been happening, there's these folks that study this type of thing that you could refer to and get your answers. But that doesn't help her political career. After a young humpback whale washed up on shore last week in Brigantine, New Jersey, several local, state, and federal Republican lawmakers called for a halt to the development of the planned offshore wind project until an investigation could be done. a preliminary necropsy on the humpback whale conducted last weekend by scientists at the Marine Mammal Stranding Center found the whale, quote, suffered from blunt trauma injuries consistent with those from a vessel strike. A vessel, you mean like these projects that you're complaining about? There's more, because scientists have been looking and investigating this spike for 7 years before Marjorie Taylor Greene knew what a whale was. Since the agency began collecting the data on January 1st of 16, there have been 183 deaths, with the majority of them occurring along the eastern seaboard of Massachusetts, New York, and overwhelmingly in New Jersey. Officials from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the Bureau of Ocean Management told reporters no whale deaths have been attributed to offshore wind projects to date. Lie number 2 has been dispelled from Marjorie Taylor Greene just in that one appearance. And lastly, Sharon, I know I've been going on for a long time, but the 2010 oil spill accident at the Deepwater Horizon platform in the Gulf of Mexico actually killed off a quarter of the bride's whale population in the region. And over the next 5 years, approximately 75% of pregnant female dolphins failed to give birth to viable offspring. But she wouldn't know that, Sharon. She wouldn't know that type of stuff because that's not good for her politics.
She works very hard to stay ignorant. And I actually mean that. It is a full-time job to stay this ignorant. And I really want to investigate whether when Hannity and others put her on Fox, if she has a teleprompter, or at least cue cards, big print, not many words, because she just pumps out the same nonsense and the same lies, whether she's carrying a balloon down the hall in Congress or chasing after AOC instead of learning from someone who has an education and a heart and some empathy. I hate it. I hate everything she's about, including the fact that she's been propped up, having done so little and having spread so much hate as someone of importance that we just must pay attention to, globally even. It's sick. And so is she.
I think what's baked in there is that sarcasm and everything that she says. Well, how come they're not out there doing this, and that? What point is she trying to make? If you're saying all this for a reason, it means you're in opposition to what it is that you say they're doing.